In this video we're going to look at the Canon XL1 camcorder again. In the previous video we did an unboxing video where I got it out of the box and set it up. In this video we're going to test it, we'll see if it works properly, and we'll try and repair some of the faults with it. Now in this video some of the repairs that I do are a bit on the crude side. But they're there more just to get it working. This isn't intended as a tutorial video. This is just to show what I've actually done to make it work. The video does drag on for a little while, so I'll put some timestamps up on the screen so that you can fast forward to the bit you're interested in if you only want to watch part of it. I've set the bench power supply to just under 8 volts. I don't know if this will be able to supply enough current to actually power it. It may not. I may have to use a different power supply. But we can just hook that up to there. There's the plus. It may well ping off. Let's turn it on. Yeah, there's an image there, but it's taking too much current from the power supply, so it's not going to work. Yeah, it's taking well over an amp, so I'm not going to be able to use it on this power supply. I'll have to find another one. Well, would you believe it? I actually just powered it up straight away in VTR mode, and it actually worked. So I've actually got a nice blue screen. Only in far mode, and you can which is the position of the lens. So that means you can actually look at it from a distance like this. If you put it in near mode, it magnifies it a lot more so that you can move your head up to it. I can't quite, because the cables are coming off. If I adjust the diopter so it fits with my eyesight, that actually looks quite good. Oh, with the rest of the camera turned off, we managed to get the mechanism to eject. Now it does actually look quite clean down there, so that's hopeful. I don't know how much use it's actually had. I don't think these have an hours meter on them, and I wasn't given any information by the seller, so we'll just have to wing it, but hopefully it's perfectly usable. I'll just give you a little glance down the viewfinder. You can see it works. It's displaying the video signal, even though there's nothing from the camera because I'm just in VTR mode and there's no taping. That'll have to do until I can get a battery or a better power supply, but it shows that it pretty much works, so I'm quite hopeful for it. Now these little LCD displays on them do illuminate. Press light. Looks like they've got close the curtain. That looks like a little electroluminescent display. This top one here is for the audio level meter, and that's gone off. The bottom one there is basically a tape counter and the battery level. I think it's interesting that Canon had used Allen keys. These are the nice big bolts that they use. I've got the screws out. I'm just having to prise it apart with the screwdriver, and then hopefully, according to the service manual, the two pieces should just come off. Because whether this has ever been apart before, I don't know. It has it does actually have glue on it, so I think it has been probably has been broken at some point. Yeah, you can see the glue there. I think this is actually a metal frame. It's not a plastic frame. Ah, there we go. That's apart, so just these lots of flat flexes that will need to come off. There's one. This is a little bit on the fiddly side to do on a camera. Best read the service manual. That's the flat flexes out. There's a pesky little connector here, just wires. No flat flex. It's stuck on with tape. That comes off. There we go. It's in two pieces, and this frame is indeed metal. You can hear it and feel that it's metal. So now I think the first challenge will be to remove all this sticky coating. It would have been something like maybe what they call plasti dip or something like that originally. You can see here on the handle where it's been held, it's in a complete mess. Whereas and down here on the bottom it's messy and it's picked up a load of dirt. But this bit here next to the port doors for the DV ports, that's actually in quite good condition, probably because it's not been touched much. Right, the first thing I'm going to try to deal with this awful coating is a bit of isopropyl alcohol. Let's just see how it works by pouring a bit on and giving it a rub with a. Yeah, you see, it comes off. Yeah, it is actually coming off all right on there. Look. Yeah, and underneath we've got the nice metal surface. Now I feel I might get through a few cloths doing this. I've disassembled the hand grip. Looks like by that marking it might have been made in 1999. Right, I've now done a little bit more work on the Canon XL1. I've got the bulk of the awful rubber coating off. That really was a pain, because unlike something like a laptop computer where it might just be a flat surface that you can scrape off, this was like all over the place and all over it. Now I took the bulk of it off with some alcohol and a credit card to scrape it, and I got the rest off with some Jif and a cloth, and it took quite a lot of effort, let's put it that way. Now I've not got it all off. There's some bits of it which are still in good condition, like here where the ports are. Feels a tad sticky, but it's okay. Those bits that are in good condition you can't really get off, so I'm just going to leave that. While it was apart, I looked at the battery. I put some wires in. There's two for plus and minus. This third one's actually for a switch, which is mounted up here, which I was being a bit silly. You don't actually need that one, but I'll take that out. Just fed that through one of the little holes and put a standard plug on. Now I happen to have a pack made up here, which is two series in two parallel. Yeah, 2S2P 18650 cells. This little pouch for the battery actually fits 18650s quite nicely, so that's quite convenient. So I can plug that in there. I'll see if I can shove that in there and hopefully it won't fall out. It does work. I can turn it on. If I put that round there, you might be able to see into the viewfinder. That's got the camera zoomed through the viewfinder. It's a bit difficult to get a good shot through the viewfinder, but that's quite close up so you can see the resolution of the LCD. It's a fairly low resolution, but because the LCD itself is a reasonable size, and because the magnifying lens is also quite big, it is actually nice and easy to look through it, unlike these modern cameras like the one I'm recording this on, which has a piddly little viewfinder that makes you squint. Now I did try it in VCR mode earlier and it didn't work, unfortunately. It played the tape, but there was no video, no time code. So I'm going to try recording on it. If it'll record but not play back a tape from another machine, it might mean that it's out of alignment. Now if it doesn't do either of those, if it doesn't play or record, There could be an alignment issue, could be head clogs, could be anything, or there could be something completely different. I don't know, but here's a MiniDV tape. The mechanism does sound quite healthy. It acknowledges that there's a tape in. I'm just going to try and rewind it to the beginning. Using VCR mode for that. And to press record, the time code is going up. Counting up in the second counter, that's gone. There is a light flashing on the front, and the tally light on the viewfinder is also flashing. Yeah, I seem to recall the Sonys have the still light, Canons have the flashing one. Personally, I prefer the standard one, but it's not complaining. There won't be any audio because I've not got a microphone plugged in, although the microphone does need repair, so we'll have to look at that later. But let's go back and play it and see if it works. Unfortunately, it didn't work. It didn't record anything. I just played the tape back in this camcorder and it didn't work. So it looks like we've got some issue with the cassette mechanism that we'll have to look into as well. Now just a quick update on the XL1. I actually did manage to get it to work. I basically cleaned the heads and that was all it needed. I won't show that in any detail on here because it's a bit fiddly to show on video. But basically you can remove this door, and then underneath that door there's another sub door, the one that says push close this first. This piece of plastic unscrews and then you can access down to the heads. I basically use the typical method of using a piece of paper and some alcohol and putting the paper against the head and rotating it. I've shown how to do that in another video of mine. That was with an SVHS head, although that was a bit easier to show off because it was a lot more accessible. If you want to see how to do that on a DV head, there's a video by Dr. Cassette, which I'll link in on YouTube. He shows how to do that on a typical MiniDV camera, and people such as 12-volt vids also have also done a few videos showing cleaning camcorder heads, so they're well worth a watch. But I cleaned the heads in it and I put a tape in and now it plays and records fine. So I think the next thing to look at will be fixing the microphone. It was sold as the microphone doesn't work, but the actual audio input for the microphone works. I've tested that, and it's clear now what the problem is with the microphone. It uses this connector. This is a 3.5mm connector, like a typical headphone connector. This one here is a 2.5mm connector, where the tip here carries 5 volts to power the microphone with. And as you can probably see, the tip is broken off. So I think what that'll just need is the connector replacing, and then it'll probably work fine. Right, this is the Canon microphone with the faulty plug. You can see the tips broken off there. I've taken this piece off here, that's just a stopper for the wind thing. And the microphone comes apart. There's one screw on the end there. There we go. This piece then comes out. This is a lovely metal tube with a nice finish on. Why they couldn't put this sort of finish on the rest of the camcorder and had to use that awful rubbery stuff, I don't know. But this is the microphone assembly. I think that's a bit of the microphone at the end, and in here we've got some circuits. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this off and stick a new plug on. Right, there's quite a bit going on inside this stereo microphone. I'm intrigued as to why they've attached the wires onto the legs of the transistors like that. I'm guessing that might have been easier for them than soldering them onto the board. Right, so I've just taken the cable from the back of the microphone. I'm just attaching it to another piece of cable to extend it. I'll extend it to a usable length, I think. So I'll just put some heat shrink on. Right, I've put the microphone back together. I've extended the cable. I've put a nice connector on the end. That's a nice, I think it's a Nutric brand connector. I had to stock up on some more of these because this is actually quite an old one and I've had trouble finding a spare. This wire is just for the 5 volts. It only needs one 5 volts. The ground return is actually the same one that's the audio one. So I'm just going to stick a piece of wire into the camera and then we'll just connect them together. And now we've just got a piece of wire sticking out, so I think I'll just stick a Wago connector on there, and that'll do as a temporary solution until I can get some proper connectors. That doesn't look too good. Well, in the process of trying to repair that broken flat flex, I broke it even more. So what I've done is I've took the connectors off using a hot air gun, and I've connected the two boards together using just plain wires, nice fine, well fairly fine wires. You wouldn't want any thicker than that, otherwise you'd struggle to solder it. But I've just about managed to solder it on. Hopefully that'll fit in nicely. Now the trouble with any machine like this is putting the flat flex cables back together, because you've got to join one side to the other. So on this one I'm just going to put this at the top. And then get this flat flex here, if you can open the connector up, which of course is easier said than done. Then we can shove it in. Is that on? Nope. Because when you're trying to film it, it's even harder still. That's got it. And the next one is this one, which goes in here. Well, it would be, except this one's just come out again. It's pulled right out, so bear with me while I do this one again. Right, I think that's in firmly. I'll give them credit for making it at least long enough for some level of servicing. And there's this connector. Like that, and that'll just tuck out of the way. And there's a flat flex at the top. Hopefully. There it goes. And it should pretty much just should be able to just sort of shove it back together, basically. Make sure that's not in the way. There we go. That's got it now. Now I can just stick those big bolts in. Right, I've just stuck a Wago connector on there. It's not a very good solution, but it'll do. That's the best I could do at short notice, because I don't have the 2.5mm connectors. The audio connector will just plug into there, and the microphone can just go into this microphone holder. Right, I'll go and test it and see if it works. Right, I've put the XL1 all back together, including the enormous Rycote dead cat over the stereo microphone. I've tested it. The audio does come through nicely from the audio inputs. That broken flat flex caused one of the audio channels to not work. This is a bit this is a bit fiddly, but I can put some proper connectors on. I think I actually like the shotgun microphone on this Sony better than this one, but I might be able to make an XLR adapter at some point. The battery is just some 18650s that are shoved in there, but it works fine. Viewfinder works okay, all the controls seem to work okay. Lens seems to work okay. I've had some headphones plugged in. I've done some test recordings, and the only problem is this will play back its own tapes fine, but when I play it back in this one it doesn't work properly, so there might be an alignment issue that I'll have to look into. But I think it's okay for now. It seems to work fine, so I think for now I'll leave it at that. Right, we're just going to have a look at this Canon XL1's tape transport again. It hadn't been working very reliably. I cleaned the heads, I gave it a thorough cleaning, got a load of dirt off, and then it did work, but it would only play back its own tapes. I couldn't put a tape from another machine in here and play it back, nor could I take a tape from this machine and play it back in another machine. So there was obviously some issue with the alignment. And the alignment's actually quite difficult to adjust in here. As you can see, I've got the side panel off, but we can't really access any of the mechanism. You can take the mechanism out, but I can't easily operate it because of the way all the flat cables go. And I think if you're a professional serviceman, you'd probably have extension cables to make it easier. But I'll just show you how I've adjusted it. To adjust the tape path alignment, you need to adjust some of the guides, which basically move the tape up and down slightly. Now, one of them you can actually access through this hole. I don't think I'll get a very good shot of it on video, but you can access one of the tape guides, the exit guide, through this hole. Now, I adjusted that and it didn't make any difference, so I'm guessing that was fine. But the entrance guide is actually underneath this part here, which we can't access. And the only way I can access it without actually taking the mechanism to bits is to eject the tape, take the cassette out and then adjust it. Now, the actual guide is this one here. Now, we can actually access that quite easily just here. Get a little screwdriver. You can put your screwdriver on there and you can adjust it. However, it was incredibly loose. It didn't take any effort whatsoever to adjust. And I adjusted it. I adjusted it a bit, put the tape back in, closed it, played it, put a known good tape, that is. Found it wasn't good enough, took the tape out, adjusted it a bit more, put the tape back in, played it, and I did that until it worked fine. But then I left it a while. I used it a bit. I shook the camera around a bit, took the tape out a few times, and it just went bad again. And I think that's because the guide was very loose. So basically, if the guide is loose, it'll just spin round on its own with vibration. So what we have to do there is we need to tighten it up. Now, this is going to be very difficult to get on camera, I'm sure. Right, I think I've just about got that tape guide in focus on the camera. You can see it just here. You can see there's a little grub screw down at the bottom. You need to tighten that up in order to tighten the guide up and stop it from working loose. And basically, you need to do that on both of them. And you can't easily do it without taking the mechanism out, but you can just about shove a screwdriver in and hold the guide steady with your finger and then tighten it up. So these tape guides are nice and tight now. It takes a bit of force to adjust them. And if I put this tape in, which was recorded on a known good camcorder, it should play okay. If we put that into VCR mode, I can press play, and you can see that that tape's playing okay. There's another recording coming up now. There we go. There's no artifacts on the picture, there's no artifacts on the sound. The correct way to do this is to actually connect an oscilloscope up to the head preamp and use that to check that the RF signal coming out is correct. But I'm not quite sure where to hook it up to. And again, it's a bit fiddly being inside the machine, so I think I'm just going to do it by eye, and at the moment, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's fine, but I will give the camera a bit of use and see how I get on with it and make sure it doesn't go bad again. Now then, I think the XL1 repair project might be on hold for a little bit, if not indefinitely. I was playing with this cassette mechanism in the well, you've just seen a clip of it, but I actually managed to have the entire mechanism out of the machine. I had it all dangling around, and of course I actually managed to kill the whole machine, so it doesn't work anymore. I'm not quite sure what I've done to it. A couple of the fuses on the PCB blew. So I might have shorted something by accident. I replaced the fuses, but I can't quite figure out what. But it still doesn't work properly, so I'm not sure what I've actually done. I think I'll have to do some digging, but it may be repairable, but it may not. So I think we'll have to leave it at that for now.